Hello everyone. Let's just get started. I'm Eric. I'm the program manager of the data engineer bootcamp. So today I'm going to give you a brief introduction about this bootcamp and about how the skills we are going to learn and what target we are going to have in this bootcamp. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, this is a page on for our website. Okay, so on this page you can see some skills here listed here. So these are the the skills we are going to learn in this bootcamp, but you only can see some generic idea from here. So in order to make you understand this bootcamp better, we will use our internal bootcamp materials here. Okay, so this is the very detailed syllabus for our bootcamp. Okay, so talk about this bootcamp. So for this bootcamp, our students mostly come from from two sources. The first source is people who want to switch their current job. Okay, maybe they are data analysts, or they are data scientists, or they even from other field. Let's say they are from, let's say, civil engineer or something like that. Okay. Another group are the graduates. So maybe they just graduated from college and they lack of experience, or they have some basic coding skill, but they know data engineer or even the data industry is very promising, so they want to switch to this field. So usually our students come from these two groups. Of course, we have other people, they already been a data engineer. Maybe let's say they used to be a data engineer in traditional from traditional databases. They want to switch to cloud. They want to switch to big data and so on. So we also have this type of students who join our bootcamp. Okay, so our target is we are hoping after our bootcamp, our students can reach to the intermediate level, which means if you join a company, your team assign you some task, you can finish the task individually without any helping from other team members. So of course, we have many graduates from our bootcamp who landed a senior data engineer. Okay, so it's not just a single case. We have a lot of cases on this. Okay, so it depends on several factors. Depends on your background. Depends on how you committed to this program, and depends on your performance in the interview. Okay, so let's talk about the bootcamp itself. Okay, first of all, this is the schedule from our previous bootcamp. Okay, so you can see the date. These are the very detailed. So we are going to, so for previous and for the future, we divide the program into three phases. You can see it's in different color. Okay, so for phase one, it's 10 weeks. Okay, in the 10 weeks, we focus on analytical engineer, which means we'll focus on some fundamental skills for data engineer. We focus on data warehouse. we'll focus on, DBT is very popular for data warehouse, right? And we'll focus on some, BI tool. We will learn how to use BI tool, but we won't going to, drill deeper about how about this AI BI tool. Okay, so after the 10 weeks, we are going to have a presentation. The presentation is based on the projects we are going to do. This is the first one, capstone project for this phase. Okay, then we are going to have 2 weeks break. For the second phase, we are going to focus on, in the first phase, we focus on AWS. The second week, we are going to focus on Azure, okay, or Azure, or whatever it's called. Okay, so then after Azure, we are going to use big data. Okay, learn big data, Spark. Okay, focus on Spark. And after that, we are going to learn something on machine learning. Okay, so the reason why we learn machine learning is because, as data engineers, sometimes we need to supply data for data scientists. So we need to at least know how machine learning work, and so that we can talk with our data scientists fluently. Okay, and then there will be another presentation which is for the second capstone project. It's based on Azure and machine learning and the big data and machine learning. Okay, and then we have a break. We have a 2 weeks break. Then we have a third phase. So if students finish the first and 2 phases, and after their presentation, they will get their diploma. Okay, so our requirements is that the students can succeed in their phase 1 and phase 2 project. Okay, and for phase 3, it's bonus for students. It's more advanced skills for data engineer. Let's say, Git, CI/CD, some CI/CD, and Terraform is more advanced skill, and NoSQL, web scraping, Airflow. Airflow is kind of like pipeline orchestration, and streaming. Okay, Kafka and Spark streaming, and so on. And also Lakehouse, something about Lakehouse, and also a little AI. It's very popular recently, AI, large language model, right? So we are going to learn something about this, and also data governance. But for phase 3, we won't have capstone project. Okay, so these are the steps we're going to learn in this program. Okay, let's go to this one to see the detail what we have. So first of all, here you can see, this is our schedule, our weekly schedule. So Tuesday, we're going to have a lecture Tuesday and Thursday Eastern time, from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. Okay, so Eastern time, Tuesday and Thursday. Saturday, we have afternoon lab, so which is 1 to 5 p.m. This will last 4 hours. During this period, during this time, we are going to finish some task. Let's say maybe finish a task for a capstone project, or finish some mini project task. Okay, I can show you this later. Okay, and then Monday, Wednesday, we will have TA office hour. So students can stop by to join the Zoom and ask their questions, or if you don't, you can feel free to leave it. Okay, so this is about the schedule, daily week schedule. So talk about our each phase. So let's say you can see phase 1, analytical engineer. The feature of this bootcamp is that for each phase we built our curriculum based on a project. Let's say phase 1. Okay, so if I open this page, you can see this. You can see is project introduction description. So at the very beginning of the phase, we are going to introduce students that this is the project for our phase, and all our learning and all our lab, and so all the knowledges will surround this project. Okay, you can see, so this is the project. So we are going to ingest data from 2 data sources, use Airbyte to ingest data, use Lambda to ingest data, use Snowflake and dbt to manipulate data and build data, build data model and ETL process, and then output data into the other BI tool, Metabase. Okay, so you can see we'll use several tools and skills here. So that's why, let's come back at what we learned. So we use Linux, right? Linux AWS, because we are going to use Linux AWS, and we are going to install some applications on server, AWS server. So that's why we're going to use Linux and AWS. And also we are going to use Docker. Okay, so the reason why we use Docker, because we are going to install the application, let's say Airbyte, dbt, and so on, this Metabase on AWS server with Docker. Okay, so for this Docker, actually, it's not quite typical tool for data engineer. Usually in big companies, there is a team called DevOps. DevOps will deploy Docker or even Kubernetes for data engineer before we or data engineer team join the project. But for some small size companies, maybe they don't have enough human resources to build infrastructure. So maybe some work need to be done by data engineer, including Docker, to build Docker, right? So that's why even in most of the case, Docker won't be the tool for data engineer, but we still will need to learn that, because there be some chance we will use this. Okay, that's why we learn Docker. Then that will be typical Python and data engineer in cloud. So here we are going to learn, how we're going to finish a Python script in a Python project, and how we're going to deploy them in a cloud. You can see there is also we are going to learn Lambda. Lambda is kind of like a very useful tool on AWS, and to run triggered by some events or schedule. Okay, and we will write Python in Lambda as well. And then we are going to for Python we are going to learn to work on a mini project, let's say Python in cloud. So we are going to write going to ingest some data. We are going to write some scripts and follow some rules, because there is in a project, in a real project, you need to have a good structure for your project, right? So we are going to follow the structural requirements to do that, and follow some to use some libraries. So something like this. Okay, so this is for Python, and then we are going to learn a lot of Airbyte. Airbyte is kind of like it's close to Fivetran or something. some tool like this. So it's kind of like a tool to ingest the data, right? To ingest and to output data. So we're going to learn this to ingest data, and I'm going to learn Snowflake. As you know, Snowflake is very important, cloud-based data warehouse in recent days, and it's play a very important role in data engineers. So it's necessary to know Snowflake very well, and all our data warehouse will based on Snowflake. Okay, and then in the data warehouse, we are going to learn what's the fundamental concepts of data warehouse, data model, and ETL, right? And how we're going to build a data model, how we're going to write ETL scripts. Okay, and yes, and so then we are going to learn DBT. Of course, we can use SQL, pure SQL, to build data warehouse, to build a data model, and to write ETL scripts. But recent days, many more and more companies, they choose DBT because it's more version control, and it's more CI/CD friendly. So because and also more team collaboration. So that's why we're going to use DBT, this kind of like more advanced tool, to do data modeling and do ETL. Okay, that's why we are going to learn DBT. Then we are going to do data analysis with Metabase. Metabase actually is an important BI tool for many companies. But for us, all we need to do is we know how it's run and how to build simple charts or reports in Metabase, because it's to build reports in a BI tool is the rule is the tasks for BI developer or data analysts. It's not the task for data engineer. But since as a data engineer, we need to collaborate with BI developers, so that's why we also need to know some basic skills for some BI tool, even not only for Metabase, also for Power BI, which is also very popular. But in our bootcamp, we won't teach Power BI. Okay, but as data engineer, if you want to dive into this data engineer field, you need to know, you must know some skill of Power BI. Okay, and and then that will be a final project and the presentation. Okay, you need to submit your project and the presentation. Okay, do a presentation in the afternoon. Okay, in the afternoon in front of all the students. Okay, then that will be big data. That will be another project. So in this project, this project which are based on AWS and based on Snowflake. But in this projects, we are going to based on Azure. So everything is on Azure. So we're going to ingest data with Azure, and then we're going to use Databricks to manipulate data, process data, do machine learning, and output data into Azure Synapse. This also a BI service on Azure, but we also need to learn this. So you can see, as a data engineer, we need to learn more things than DS, which is data scientists, or DA, data analysts. So because we have a lot of interface with different group, even sometimes we have a group with front-end developer, or some system developer or something, or DevOps. We have a lot of interface with different groups, so we need to know more stuff than other positions. Okay, so you can see we're going to ingest data, build use, we are going to use our data factory, right, to ingest data, to run some pipeline, to process data. And then we are going to learn how to write big data query and scripts, how the syntax of Spark. So it's very popular, or as I can say, is the Spark now is very dominating this field. And then we're going to learn some Spark machine learning. Okay, we know we learn some basic machine learning, and then we also learn some natural language processing, which is NLP. So it's to process language texts, and then we're going to learn how to build machine learning model and how to use the machine learning model. Okay, so the reason why we learn this, I already mentioned that before. So, but you need to know, if you want to learn this machine learning in very detail, I would say data engineer wants a place for you. It's better to go to data science bootcamp, because for data science, they spend three months only for machine learning, right? So we only spent 2 weeks on machine learning. So you will see we just learned some surface in this bootcamp, okay? And also how to optimize, how to can use Azure Synapse. Azure Synapse is very important service for BI developer if they are based on Azure platform. Okay, but for us, we need to know some of them, but it's not the core skill we are going to learn. Okay, so and then project and the presentation. Okay, and phase 3 we call that lakehouse and streaming, but it's more than that. First of all, we need to know some data ops. Let's say CI/CD, Terraform, and so on. And also NoSQL. NoSQL, we're going to learn DynamoDB, which is from AWS, and Elasticsearch, which is very popular for for many companies who are using log, or who even use Elasticsearch for in their website for searching or something. Okay, but we won't dive into very deep. We need to there is a dedicated team to build Elasticsearch if they use this heavily. But for us, we need to know how to do the modeling in Elasticsearch and how to communicate with Elasticsearch with Python. Okay, and web scraping. So it's how to do some web scraping and how to this mini project is a combination of how to do web scraping, save the result into Elasticsearch, and do the context search. Okay, so something like this, a more complex task. And Airflow, so it's a couple years ago, Airflow is very popular. But recent days, because Airflow is free, right? It's open tool for data orchestration. But recently, I see this less and less company require people who know Airflow. Maybe because some of them they switch from this kind of open tool to a bigger platform, let's say AWS or Azure, Data Factory. The reason for that because maybe some companies, the Airflow is open source tool, right? So it's open source tool. So they need to have more people to maintain this platform, and it's more complicated. So that's why I think. Okay, and data streaming. Okay, so we are going to do data streaming to learn Kafka. Kafka is very popular data streaming and Spark streaming. as well. So this is not our focus, but we will spend 1 week on data streaming. Okay, and lakehouse, we're going to learn lakehouse concepts, and we're going to learn, some Delta Lake with Databricks. Okay, Delta Lake is pretty important stuff in the data lakehouse in Databricks. Okay, and a little bit BI AI. I already mentioned that how to use Streamlight, okay, to build some tool, and also data governance. Okay, how to system design, data structure, data governance, and so on. Okay, so this is all about the curriculum of our bootcamp. Okay, so I can see there is a couple questions. I can answer questions now. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can just unmute, ask, or you can just put your questions into the chat. Okay, will be able to replace Thursday class with another day? Do you have a diploma end of the program? It's fixed. So for the Thursday class, if you cannot join, you have to watch the videos, because the instructor we have, they are part-time. Okay, they are senior or lead data engineer in companies, so they only available on Tuesday and Thursday. Okay, and do you have diploma at the end of the program? Yes, after phase 1 and phase 2. After phase 1 and phase 2, we are going to issue diploma for all students who finish their phase 1 and phase 2 projects. Okay, and how many students will complete this program, land at data engineering roles? Not say how many. So our rates is kind of like around 85 to 90. Okay, so after 6 months. Okay, so I don't want to say how many, because we have many. Okay, how much is the program? So you can I think you can find from here, right? Because I'm the program manager. I'm focused on the internal program. I'm not quite sure. So what's the detailed price? Maybe you can just put your questions here and contact with. Or I think you can download the package. I think in the package you can see the price. I'm sorry, I'm not quite familiar with the price. Price comma, come and go some price. I'm not quite sure. And also for different period, let's say if you register earlier, you can get an early bird, like 10 or 15% of discount or something like that. Okay, so I'm sorry, feel free to download the package from here. Okay, or apply here. Okay. Any further questions? Okay, no problem. As data engineering is quite popular in recent days, but it's not fit for everyone. So I have a lot of consulting call from different perspectives, or from students. Maybe they are from, let's say, they're from data science background, and they want to utilize their data science background more. So they ask me if they can to join the data engineer. Of course, data engineer good for them, but maybe machine learning engineer even better than that for them. Okay, is there worse for full stack developer? It depends on you. So that's what I said. So for data engineer, you can see is data engineer. So which means 50% or 60% of your value from data. So how are you going to process your data? Okay. Of course, you as software engineer, coding, system better. But sometimes I think some skill, let's say Docker, maybe Python, you have even higher, even better skill than we told you. Okay, so for this time, maybe it's with your time. On the other hand, so for data engineer, for data, even you are a software engineer, but you spend less time on data. Even sometimes you have interface with some data. Let's say you read some data from a database, but you only use very simple SQL scripts. It's different. It's different thing. Okay, so you won't this won't give you a great value for you to be a data engineer. So for software engineer, so it depends on how you're going to do, because for the data things you need to relearn this, and but your learning speed will be faster than others, and your learning curve will be lower. So that's your advantage. But you still need time to learn this. And also, if you are a software engineer, let's say you are a software engineer and you want to switch to data engineer, I'm not quite sure, because it depends on companies. If this company is a software company or system-based driven company, maybe they lack your background since you're a software engineer. Okay, but for some companies, let's say for bank or for some retail companies, their team based on maybe like data science or data analysts team. So maybe they don't need a full stack developer background. So it depends on companies. Okay, so MVC. So what is MVC? I'm sorry. How much coding background you need before apply for this program? So that's a good question. So we need SQL and Python. Okay, so if you take a look at this, we have a pre-bootcamp. So for students, so let's say in the pre-bootcamp you can see SQL, Python, AWS, blah 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 blah. For all of this, it's okay if you don't have this, but SQL and Python is must. For SQL, we need to know SQL very well, because the SQL I will say is the first coding language for data engineer, because this is the more direct language, coding language to process data. So you must know SQL very well. And then Python, comparing software engineer, I think the skill required by data engineer will be easier. Okay, so let's say, of course you will use objects on the class, but it will use much less than software engineer. Okay, so usually, because Python is a light coding language, we cannot use Python for a large scale work. Let's say because Python also a in-memory computing, so we have a very strict memory limitation. But for data engineer, many times, many cases, we are processing very big size data. So use Python, that will be pretty slow and they'll have a lot of limitations. So that's why we use SQL, because SQL is push down computing, which means they run in database directly. But for Python, they ingest data into their memory and process and output. It is slow. Okay, so the Python we are going to use in data engineer, usually we use Python to ingest some data from API or to do some checking or validation or something. Okay, so of course some companies, they build their pipeline with Python, but the prerequisites is that their data size is not big. If their data size is big, they need to either use SQL, which is database or data warehouse, or they need to use big data. Although the big data PySpark was was based on Python language, but Spark library, but it's Python, but is, I would say, almost a brand new language. Okay, okay, so yeah, so that's why that's answer the question. How much code? So before we apply for the platform, the program, SQL and Python. Okay, Python intermediate level, SQL the top level. Okay. Any further questions?
Yes. Hello?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So yeah, I joined a little late, but I looked at the curriculum and it makes sense to me,
Mm-hmm,
even though I'm not a data engineer.
mm-hmm,
So uh, from my perspective, it is very different than software engineering, like you mentioned.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I think it would be valuable just to give it a shot.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. The thing is, right now I'm a React developer,
Mm-hmm,
so a lot of the work I do is on the front end side of things.
mm-hmm,
Um, but I'm learning new frameworks and coding languages like ASP.NET
mm-hmm,
and C Sharp.
mm-hmm,
So this is all lower level stuff, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It's completely different. Or do you
mm-hmm.
know anything about ASP.NET or MVC? It's sort of different, right? Completely
Uh,
different, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know it's used for kind of like system things, right? I'm not quite familiar with this type of things. I know Java better.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I see you have a section on data governance.
Hmm.
That's something that uh, I'm gonna have to learn
Hmm.
for my new role.
Hmm.
Mm, yes. And you mentioned that you work directly with banks and stuff, so you know that their code is hosted on the cloud, right?
Yes, for the banks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think banks is a little bit special. So it depends on banks. I talk with some old graduates. So some bank they are using their private cloud, I would say. Okay, and some bank they are considering move from their private cloud to public cloud, let's say Azure, but still need time. But usually for the bank, they work on the cloud, their private cloud. And for the private cloud, they have their, and also some banks, they are still using Hadoop. We won't teach Hadoop in this bootcamp because we believe that Hadoop is out of date. And also for the data engineer in the bank, they also complain that the Hadoop pretty slow and take a lot of time. But the bank still using Hadoop because there is a lot of data there, and to transfer from one uh, you know one tool to another in need time. Okay, so that's why I think the technology using in bank are very special or a little
Okay.
bit old.
Sure. And just one more question. So what is the difference between a data lake and a data warehouse? Because we also have to migrate one of our databases from AWS to Snowflake. So I'm not sure
Mhm.
if you know
Yeah.
anything about that.
So actually, it's data lake is kind of like you put all kinds of how to say that. So data lake, you use data lake just store some files, right? So different CSV files or Parquet files, whatever the files you can put in the data lake. But in a
I heard about that. Yes,
yeah,
Parquet file. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So you need to you need to pick. It's not structured data. Okay, so you need to. It's not organized data. So data in a file in the lake in a data lake is in different file in different folder with different name, and it's really hard to put them together. So usually we use data lake for data science. They pick up some data to do data processing and for machine learning training, something like that. And data warehouse is a totally different story. Data warehouse, when you ingest data into data warehouse, you need to follow the rules to transform the files into the structured data lake require. Data warehouse require you, which means no matter what's the files you are using before you input into Snowflake into the data warehouse, after data warehouse inputting, everything is under the same rule, under the same structure. It's just like a database. You have table, you have schema, and you can query or use the data with the same way. So simply put, data lake is kind of like the folder in our Windows, okay, in our Windows system, but data warehouse kind of like a database in our computer. So you can see in data warehouse is tables. So tables, which means you will use SQL to query them, and you use SQL to process them to generate new tables and so on. But for the folders, the files in folders, we can read the files, but it's really hard to put all the files together if we want to. If we need to put them, if we need to put everything together to query them, it's better to use data warehouse. So that's why there is a new concept which is called lake house, which means on the data lake there is a new application layer. With the new application layer, they can treat this independent files as a table. So they can join the table, they can query the table, they can split tables. Logically, it's not physically. Okay, so that's why there is a data lake, data warehouse, and lake house. So this kind of like three things, and used for different purposes.
Okay, I see. Yes, and this would be on the cloud. And yeah, my role as a software engineer, I still have to consider some of those uh, like smart or dumb components, as we call it, just inside the system, like you mentioned. But yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
also,
Thank you so much.
no problem. And also, migrate to. You need to have a good mechanism to migrate the. You need to. I would say you need to have a good. I would say schema.
I have
Before,
access to the table. I just need to copy paste
yeah. So
well,
that's yeah.
join things, but I don't know anything about SQL. Nothing.
Okay, so after you ingest that, so your company needs to have a good, I would say, good layers or structure and so on. So that make sure the data it's from the raw data to the table they want is still a process, right? So this is the process we call the ETL. Okay, so that's what data engineering is doing. So you need to make sure schema, this layer structure should be make sense. Otherwise, in the future, there will produce a lot of problems.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, another question. How do you assist a student with landing job enroll resume preparation, help with interview? Yeah, of course, we have all of them. Okay, so first of all, we have every month we have a career session for all the students. Okay, career workshop. So in the workshop, there will be resume, help you to build your resume, help you to prepare interviews and so on. And then, which is most important, is we have a mentorship after the program. So after you finish this, you will be assigned a mentor. So this mentor is one-on-one mentor. So with this mentor help, you can, after the bootcamp, you also need to learn something, right? So maybe, different companies, they have different requirements for recruiting. So maybe you need to add more, skills in your skill set. So when you learn this, you can find help from the mentor. Also, the mentor also help you to improve your resume. And also, let's say there is a interview for you, right? So you can talk with your mentor to mock an interview or ask your mentor how to prepare for this interview. Okay, so mentor will give you hand-to-hand help with for you. Okay. Okay. Any further questions? Yeah, and also I think we are going to post this recording after it's processed, right? Anna.
Yes, the recording will be available on the YouTube. I think I already shared the link in the channel, so let me share it again.
Okay, cool. Any further questions? If you don't have questions now, you can just you can leave your questions in YouTube's under this video as well. So when we see the questions, we will try our best to answer that to you. Okay. Okay. Thank you, and hope you have a good afternoon, and hope you talk to you in the future. Okay. Bye bye.